Today will be lesson 8 in the instructional videos for Master Kuo Lien Ying's second Northern Shaolin form, Chuan. In doing research on both Tan Tui and Chuan, I read that the Northern styles were developed against the grappling style of the Mongolians, and the long fist was designed to keep the grappler away. And so in this dynamic form, there's lots of movement and running and stepping, and that's one of the characteristics of his form, and that'll be evident today in the moves that we learn. We're going to learn about 4 or 5 new moves in section 2. The movements, one of the main movements comes from the 10th road of Master Kuo Lien Ying's Tan Tui. I'll demonstrate that and then kind of describe that movement. In the 10th road, you start off from the traditional bow and arrow stance. If you learn from here, then it's a sweep back for a leg wrap, and then drop into the falling stance, come up, blade hand strike. So the movement that we're going to learn today comes from that 10th road, and that'll be that drop into the falling stance and the sweep down. So again, from here back, you notice that this foot doesn't go straight through into the drop stance, but swings around like that. And that's kind of like a hooking behind the opponent's leg, and then this press down is pressing against the knee and shin, take the opponent down if he's standing straight up. So that's kind of one of the applications of that movement. So again, watch my footwork in this because that's what's going to be applied in this lesson. From right here, the right foot swings around and the blade hand strike. So another new move that we're going to learn in this lesson is the double blade hand strike, which would be like this. It's right fist over the left fist and both wrists touching. And of course, I'll describe all this as we actually learn the lesson. I was giving you a preview. Coupled with skip step, which is something that will be new for you. And in the skip step, you're going to shoot forward with the double blade hand strike, like that. So it's like striking forward, and then the left foot comes behind the right foot as you skipping forward. So at the time of the impact, you're kind of planted, but then right away, you're jumping into the skip step. And in the Dalu, the fixed form, you do 3 of this double bladed hand strike and skip step. But again, depending on your workout space, you might only have room for 1, and that's fine. But traditionally, you do 3. This Northern Shaolin form is a fairly expansive form. It can take a big space if you do it all full out. Here in this filming space that I have, it's not, it's medium-sized space, not really big. So sometimes I have to kind of like alter the form a little bit in terms of where I'm spacing in order to do the correct amount of movements for a demonstration. Also, after we complete the second section, and this lesson and then 1 more lesson, you'll be completing the second section, and you'll be basically about halfway through the Dalu, the fixed form. After the next lesson, then I'll do a review of the first section and the second section and show you the timing, the tempo, the flow, etc. So on these individual lessons, I'm trying to just teach the specifics of the basic movements. A little bit further than just rote, just by showing you the movements and then letting you go at it. I want to kind of describe some of the details of the movements so it helps to clarify. I just had a nice response from an older practitioner that thanked me for clarifying a lot of elements that she was not basically very specifically aware of. And so that's the purpose of these videos, is both teaching new students the basic form and helping to clarify the details of the form as we learn it in Portsmouth Square for older practitioners or practitioners who have already learned the Dalu, the fixed form. So, and also in this N would be a sweep and a sweep like that. And of course, when we do the opening, you have a double sweep. So that'd be pretty familiar to you. Before we learn the lesson, I'll do a quick review of where we are in section 2. I'll start from the run and the stamp back, and that'll be beginning of section 2, and I'll run through section 2 really quick. I'll do a talk through so we can kind of see where we are. So it won't have as much flow, but you'll be able to recognize the movements from the past lessons. Step forward, step behind, sweep. Stepping forward into the crane stance, press down, trap, twist. High crescent kick into the falling stance, elbow block, double jumping soul kick, bow and arrow stance, elbow strike, jumping spin into the crane, sweep into the bow and arrow stance. And this is where we're going to begin the lesson. So I'm going to start the lesson from over here so that I have enough room to do the 3 steps. The space that I'm demonstrating in is not like a particularly large space, so I have to keep adjusting where I start in order to get the full movement in. Normally if I'm doing it, I might only have room to do 2 or 3, but it's out of the camera view because I'm not using a rotating camera to follow my movement, so it's a fixed space that is in the viewing area. So we start from the bow and arrow stance over here. From the bow and arrow stance, we're going to drop down into the drop stance like this, and then go forward into the double bladed hand strike. So we're just going to do a walking pace right now. From the bow and arrow stance, drop down here, then skip, skip, like that. You can practice that so that you remember the sequence. None of the movements in this lesson are going to be physically difficult to perform, just like the crescent kick is physically difficult to go high and then drop down into drop stance. But here it's going to be more remembering the hand positioning, and the sequence will be the difficult part. So we just go slow from here. We're working on the diagonal line, so dropping down, both fingers pointing forward, and then into the double bladed strike, step, skip, skip, skip. I didn't do the skip steps, so you can just practice the slower sequence. And if you're more elderly and you have a hard time doing the actual skip step, you can practice it like that as well. Go from the bow and arrow stance, drop down, strike, strike, strike. So we're going to do 3. So now we're going to work into the skip. In a skip, like that. When you're striking, like that. Each time that you do that skip, the hands withdraw, and the strike is on right about this point here. So, like that. Now we're going to incorporate that into the move for the bow and arrow stance. Drop down. Three. Again, one more time. From the bow and arrow stance. Drop down. 1, 2, 3. So you can see how much distance that's covering in just 3 steps. So you have to remember when you do your initial movements over there, starting from that movement into the crescent, where you come on a diagonal this way, and then as you turn around and you're going to go this way, you have to get that movement on here, way over on that side of the workout space to allow yourself. So knowing the direction of the form and how far it takes is going to be part of the art of being able to perform the form within the allotted space. So again, from here, the bow and arrow stance, going to drop down, pressing down, strike, 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 here. And we're going to end the movements of that series with the hands about here. So now we're going to go back to what I said, the one of the movements connects to road 10 into the drop stance. So we're going to put that move pretty basically right into the end of this series of the 3 skip steps with the double bladed hand strikes. Okay, so just for a purpose of doing the demonstration within a lot of space, I'm going to just do 2 skips and strikes so that I can have room to do a full sweep and press down. So again, from the jumping into the bow and arrow, drop down. 1, 2. From here, I'm going to go back with a beak hand and then spin into the drop stance. So here's what it looks like. What I like to do to remind myself to do a full backwards movement with this hand over the head is brush my thigh with my fingertips. So right here, I kind of perform this little tap just so I kind of remind myself to come all the way back as I rotate into the drop stance. The hand is coming the hand is coming straight over, but the foot is sweeping in a semicircle. You'll see that. In line with the beak hand and this chopping down hand. Okay. So that's the first part of this movement. All those movements are performed basically together from the time that you do the bow and arrow, drop down, 1, 2, 3, go right into the falling stance and the chop down. Okay, again, I'm just going to do 2 in this demonstration here so you can see. Bow and arrow stance. Okay, drop down. 1, 2. Again, then turn around. Drop down. 1, 2. I'll do it going this way so you can see as well. So from the bow and arrow stance, drop down. 1, 2. Again, if you have a hard time dropping into the falling stance, the drop stance, you can just go that low, will be fine. Here. Okay, so now we have one more move after that to finish the series of movements. One of the beauties of this form is how dynamic it is in the movements, the variation of all the movements, and then also how they interrelate from the tan tui and the various lines and incorporated into the Chuan. For me, that's kind of an exciting part of it. So, okay, so after the drop down, you're going to sweep like this. So from here, come up over the right leg. The left comes right in front of your shoulder, here. From the beak hand, here. I'll do it on this direction too. Here, the drop down, because we're going to go back facing that diagonal. Okay? From the double bladed hand strike and skip step. So it comes up high, like you're sweeping somebody over your knee, and you're guarding with your left hand. From here, you're going to spin all the way around to cat stance as you sweep with the left hand. Okay. Remember, I'm opposite side right now. So over here, you're going to do the third double bladed hand strike, right into the drop down, sweep, then turn around on the 45-degree facing it into the cat stance, double beak hand, here. So now my chest is 90 degrees to the diagonal line. And that's where we end this. The directions are going to possibly be a little confusing because we're learning the movements, and then I'm having to rotate so that you can see a better view of the movements. So always remember, when I tell you that I'm turning in opposite direction, then take that into consideration as you're viewing the particular move that we're trying to work on. Okay? So again, let's take it from the bow and arrow stance. So then we're going to do the drop down. 1, 2. Sweep. Sweep over your knee. Sweep back facing the 45 or diagonal. You see on that end move, I use the sweeping hand to help pivot me around. So I'm facing on the diagonal. One more time. From the bow and arrow stance on the diagonal. Drop down. 1, 2. Back straight, butt tucked in. So, yeah, just practicing the move. A lot of times in kind of learning new sequences and stuff throughout the day, I just think about the move, what the move feels like. You don't even have to do the full movement, but it's like just you can kind of walk around and kind of visualize the feeling of that movement. And again, that's one of the techniques of learning, is to do the movement past the mechanical parts of the movement and start to feel the fluidity of the movements and how the movements are connected. And then once you get that feeling of that into your body, then that's what you concentrate on when you're doing the dalu, the form, the feeling of that movement. It's the essence of the movement. And besides practicing the pure mechanics of the dalu, the fixed form, which would be kind of more robotic, I like to concentrate on the feeling of the movement and the dynamic tensions that come out of it. And that's not just done faster, it's done with more understanding of intention. And again, as you perform the fixed form, the dalu, what you focus on is the intention of the next sequence of movements. And just like a gymnast, they have the routine down and they just kind of stand in front of that high bar and they visualize the movements, but they're visualizing the timing and the feel of that movement before they actually do the performing. And that's a really valid way to train your body. And sometimes you get the feeling of the movement by separating the elements out of the dalu. So instead of just doing it from double bladed hand strike into that, the other day I was just kind of focusing on the timing of that, coming out of the 10th road of Tantway. And once I kind of incorporated that feeling of that little pause right into the sweep, that actually helped this particular move in the Chuan as well. Because now from here, I could take that same, like to call it pre-power, and throw that right into that moment. And you'll find this idea of the pre-power where you're just getting ready to do the explosion comes in a lot once you advance into the further stages of your Kung Fu. And that idea of that wind up into it, just like you're going to throw the ball. But you don't have to throw the ball, it's just that moment before you do the release is a very, very crucial part of Kung Fu. So anyway, getting back to the basics, just the movements will be the bow and arrow stance, up, down, the skip, 1, 2, and then you drop down, sweep facing the diagonal. That's where we'll end this lesson and get ready for the next movements. This one section, the second section, is probably, I would say, one of the more difficult parts of the whole form, because you're doing a lot of movement back and forth, both in terms of endurance, it takes a lot of wind, and also the movements are so dynamic that the second section is one that you want to really concentrate on. And again, that's why I break up the form into different sections. The first section is fairly simple and easy and straightforward, but the second section, because it has all these diagonals and kind of compounded movements, is a little bit more difficult. And the third section will be more kind of condensed, not moving around quite as much. So, okay, enjoy the lesson. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. Thank you very much.